In this program, we are going to discuss the issues behind the Eritrean festivals taking place in Europe. As we saw in Germany, they were surrounded with controversy and protests. And to discuss this issue, we have Mr. Habte Hagos from the UK, who is the chairperson of Eritrea Focus. It's a Mr. Habte. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
Okay, so Mr. Habte, as I mentioned earlier, this Eritrean festivals taking place in Europe have been, we could see that they were surrounded with controversy and protests. And can you tell us as to what is behind all the opposition to the festivals taking place in the, as I mentioned, and last week it was in Gießen in Germany, and over the weekend it's going to be taking place in the UK, as I understand. So what can you tell us about the festival itself, its nature and all that?
Eden, thank you very much for having me. And it's a pleasure to be on your program. The issues surrounding Eritrean festivals goes a long time. In fact, it started in the 60s when the first Eritrean festivals began in Bologna in northern Italy. They used to hold them every August and on Eritrean independence in 1991. The aim of those festivals, the Bologna festivals, was to bring together Eritreans from across the world to celebrate their cultural heritage, be proud of being Eritrean, enjoy Eritrean food, enjoy Eritrean music, but more crucially, and this is really the hub of the matter, to discuss the struggle and the challenge our fighters were facing in the field for us to be liberated and call ourselves proudly Eritreans. And doing that, not only they discuss the situation and the progress they were making, they also collected huge sums of money in support of the Eritrean armed struggle. To me, that is the right and proper Eritrean festival, which every Eritrean can be proud of. It's unfortunate I was not able to attend any one of them, but I was a student and unable to afford a trip to Bologna, but I always followed the developments. Things, of course, changed since Eritrean independence. Independence that we all desire turned into a nightmare in the hands of one individual who, in my view, is incapable to run a country, let alone a country. A university dropout who has very little education destroying our nation. And that has cascaded into large sections of our community who follow this leader blindly. And the result of that we can see in the festivals that have been organized over recent years, where we have PFDJ members not knowing what PFDJ stands. None of them can explain what PFDJ is, really hijacking the Eritrean cause and raising huge sums of money in support of the regime in Asmara that is hell bent to destroy our identity, our country, and what makes us proud and independent country. And this is a fight our youth are fighting at the moment in trying to get these events cancelled. Sadly, we seem to have a divide between the older generation and the younger generation. This is what is being coming up quite explicitly in these events. If you look at the Gießen events last week, the ones that were going into halls to celebrate and dance were essentially older generation. And the ones who opposed them were in the opposition side and demonstrating were individuals that have been traumatized, enslaved, and some of them actually raped by the Eritrean regime. And this divide cannot be sustainable. And that is why I think increasingly less and less people are attending these events, and more Eritreans are opposing these festivals. So that's really the background leading into what is happening this summer, or what happened in Gießen last week, what was going to happen at Harrow Leisure Center this weekend, which has fortunately been cancelled. We understand the organizers, the Eritrean embassy and their agents, are proactively working to find an alternative venue, and they are still selling tickets, although the venue remains unknown. As I say, Harrow Leisure Center has been cancelled by the venue owners, but the Eritrean embassy and their agents are keeping selling tickets for an event where the venue this weekend remains unknown. And we're organizing proactively to find out where this event may be held. And to the extent we know the venue, we will do our hardest to make sure it is sabotaged and cancelled.
Okay, Mr. Habte, if you could speak up, maybe so that our audience can only a little. So, Mr. Habte, as you mentioned there, those opposing the festivals or so-called festivals are mostly the youth who are maybe recent immigrants who crossed across the sea and the Sahara Desert, who've been traumatized as a result of what they had to go through in Eritrea. So Eritrea is, as we know, called the pariah state and all that. So can you maybe enlighten our audience as to what those the youth are subject to while they're in Eritrea?
Eritrea can only be described as a prison state where every individual citizen is being under essentially an arrest or imprisonment of some sort. Either they cannot worship their faith and they can practice their religion freely. There is no freedom of speech. There is no freedom to actually study what you want to study. You're not allowed to do the job you want to work. The workforce in Eritrea is owned by the Eritrean government. Every single Eritrean works for the government. As a result, and as the United Nations repeatedly said over the last 10, 11 years, the Eritrean society lives in fear. And gross human rights abuses have been committed on our people. These are the very people who said they liberated our country. They claim to have liberated our country from the Amharas, who were brutalizing our people, burning our villages, destroying our country. Sadly, the Eritrean regime that we have now is no better than the Amharas. In fact, we could make an excuse for the Amharas because they were not people. Yeah, they were foreigners. And those people who are destroying our people, those government officials that are brutalizing our youth are our own people. And that makes it extremely, extremely painful. And it's no wonder why so many of our youth
Yeah, Mr. Habte.
It's no wonder why so many of our youth are voting with their feet and fleeing the country. Eritrea produces the highest number of refugees per capita in the world, and it has done so. It has done so for the best part of 10 years, and I cannot see that changing. If you deny people to live a normal life, where you can't study what you want to study, where you can't work what you want to do, where you can't marry and have your own family, where you can't look after your parents, what option are people have? And they flee. And this is what makes these festivals very, very difficult to understand. Yeah, here you have people who risk life and death to flee their home country, arrive in Europe or North America, and then going round circles, dancing and celebrating the very region, the very government that they have fled from. And it is for this reason in the UK we have proactively raised over the last year or so that those who support and advocate for the Eritrean regime should not be allowed to have a refugee status. Because by definition, to be a refugee, you must be fleeing persecution. Yeah? And yet these people actually admire the Eritrean regime. They work for the Eritrean regime. And there is no reason, in my view, why they should be refugees. In fact, those who have been granted refugee status by the British, by the Europeans and the Americans that are outspoken PFDJ members should have their refugee status rescinded because they got those status, the refugee status, on deception by pretending they are anti the Eritrean government when clearly they're not. Yeah. And there are some issues we need to proactively work, and these festivals are helping to highlight those issues. And the fact that the Germans are now requiring the Eritrean embassy to register and provide a list of those who will be attending these festivals is actually a positive thing. Because from those lists, the German authorities, and we hope that will also apply in the UK, will be able to identify who these people are. And these are the very people who have obtained refugee status on deception. And they should be kicked out. They should be sent to Rwanda. And if they love Eritrea so much, they shouldn't be here in the first place. So those are the sort of campaigns and advocacy work that we are doing. And I think it's beginning to bear fruit. So far, we haven't seen anybody be deported. But I believe passionately and strongly that the host countries should look into those quite clearly. Why deport, I say, innocent refugees, people who need protection, people who fled abusive government and ask for refugee status, asylum seekers who actually need it, when you have actual PFDJ members who are abusing it. So I think there are a lot of things we can do and campaign around that areas. And we must join both in Europe and North America to do so. We must get PFDJ members expelled from Europe and North America if they obtain their refugee status on deception. There are agents of the Eritrean government, there are spies that have been deliberately sent to Europe to organize festivals. And yet they do that on refugee status basis. They even bring their families to Europe and North America where they live on state benefit. So not only are they abusing the Eritrean society in diaspora, but they are also abusing the welfare system and the refugee system in the Western countries. Eritrea speaks a lot about China. Are we there?
Yeah.
Eritrea is a good friend of China and Russia. You've seen the president marching with the Chinese and Russian leaders. Yeah, somebody who runs a village against somebody who is a superpower. Yeah, and the difference is quite clear in that when it comes to political stand, they like to be seen as strong and stand with the Chinese or with the Russians. But when it comes to money, they look to the West. And that's why there has never been, not a single one, Eritrean festival taking place in any cities in China or in any cities in Russia. And yet, he has proclaims, oh, the West is a lot of whatever he says, and proclaims Russia and China are their friends. They're their friends. Why don't they get the money from them? So there is a lot of contradiction in the mentality and the way the Eritrean government thinks. There is inconsistent in the way Isaias is. I happen to think he's absolutely not normal. I spent 3 days translating his February 21 Era TV interview into English for the first time. And I could not believe that a president 80 years of age speaking as if he was 80-year-old. And by the end of it, I felt actually, no wonder Eritrea isn't the mess it is. And there is no way I can bet my life on it. The situation in Eritrea will improve while Israel is in place. Forget it. Things will get worse and worse. My fear is, and I am sure this is an increasing fear for most Eritreans, that we may yet witness another war with Ethiopia. Not long. Things are heating up, and our youth will be destroyed. So many of our people will be killed, and the very existence of our country will be at stake. Will we still have assets? Will we still have assets after this coming war? I hope so, but everything is at risk. And these are really the issues we need to consider rather than dance around the floor where our country is at stake and our people are suffering.
Okay, Mr. Habte, so this year's festival is taking place under the theme Heroic Feat, anchored on cohesive ranks. As Independence Day celebrations, months long back home was, so the theme is the same as the festivals that we're witnessing in Gießen in Germany and over the weekend in the UK. And those who attend the events claim that the event is cultural and organized by Eritreans who are using the event to reconnect and teach or educate their kids on their values, while those who oppose it claim that it's not cultural, it's political, and then it's exclusive only for those who support the dictatorial regime back home, and it's used to raise funds to help the regime back home keep on oppressing our people. And that's the reason we're opposing the festivals. That's the claim on the other side. So what do you think? Is it political in nature, or what's your opinion?
Well, in short,
Yeah.
these festivals have, in my view, twin goals, two aims. Are you there? Yeah, two aims. The first is obviously to have, and there is nothing wrong. You know, I like Eritrean people I like to see Eritrean people dance, enjoy their music. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Although I can't dance, it's actually good to see people having fun. But that is only the margin of the reason. It's really the small part of the reason why PFDJ and Eritrean embassies organize these events. They organize these events to indoctrinate falsely of what is happening in our homeland. Yeah, exaggeration. There is a development. The Ethiopians or somebody is going to attack us. We need to prepare all this nonsense. There is that. There is hate speech against the Tigrians, the Wuyanis, and all this nonsense, which I would describe racist. Yeah, absolutely racist thing. And then there's of course the bigger picture, a much bigger picture, which the Eritrean government is very interested in, and that is money. Now, if you look at the Dallas Eritrean Festival in August of last year, which was cancelled by the police on the second day, that event alone raised over $1 million. And it was attended by people like Sofia Tesfamariam and high-ranking officials from Eritrea. And that shows really that the government sends high-ranking officials to politicize, indoctrinate members of the diaspora, and then also get the revenue it needs. And those are the reasons why I think the government of Eritrea is so interested, and why you have Yamana governments tweeting after every event, saying, "Oh, our comrades are doing this." The people want to dance and have fun. Why don't they go to Eritrea and do it? But they know they can't do it. Eritrea has nothing. Yeah, and that's why they are in diaspora. And yet, the Eritrean government makes a huge fanfare of it. If we ask who goes to these festivals, there was an article by Eritrea Claim last year, which said people who go to these festivals are fools, absolutely fools. I probably agree with that, but I think that it goes beyond that. And I have done a fair bit of thinking and actually documented this in a dossier we put together last year titled "The Summer PFDJ Died." This really captures what happens with the Eritrean festivals in 2022, and it's available on Asena website, Eritrea and so on. And there are 5, although in that document I say there are 4 groups. On reflection, I think there are 5, and there may be more, but I can think of only 5. The first group that go to these festivals are really innocent group. People want to have fun, want to have dance, want to hear their music. Yeah? And these people could go to an opposition group festivals if there was one as well. So they don't care. Really, they don't care. And what they hear in terms of the indoctrination comes through one ear and goes out through. They don't care. They don't give a toss of PFDJ. And they go there to have fun. And then you have the second group, which are called hardcore. These are the evil, the mafia. And they tend to be either people placed within the embassy and the ambassadors themselves, or PFDJ and their agents. And these are the brain of these festivals. These are the people who design, organize, and fix the events. And they are also the ones who collect the revenue and transmit it to the Eritrean government.
Okay, so in Gießen, in Hessen, in Germany.
Can I just finish the groups very quickly?
Mhm.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you fine. If you could only speak up.
Yes. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm just going through the groups that take part in
Mhm.
the festivals. Can I carry the
Mhm.
other? Can I carry on?
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So we have the hardcore, which are effectively the embassy staff and PFDJ, and then we have the youth group within the PFDJ. And this youth group is actually controlled and managed by the hardcore. And they do what they tell them to do. And they go out and intimidate individuals and members of the diaspora. And then there is a fourth group. I only have five, so this is a fourth group, whom I call the opportunist group. These are opportunists. They care for themselves. They have houses in Eritrea, they may have other properties in Eritrea, and they want to protect their assets. That's their only interest. And there may be others, older generation in particular, hence why you see much more older generations going into this festival, who want to be buried in Eritrea and want their body repatriated to Eritrea. So that is a personal. And then finally, the fifth group are what I call the hard press group. I actually sympathize with this group. And these are groups whom you find in places like Ethiopia who need papers from the Eritrean embassy. And they have no other option but to actually pretend as if they are within the PFDG in order to get the paperwork that they need. So these are the sort of five groups that regularly attend the PFDJ festivals.
Okay, so I was just going to say that we saw in Gießen 6 high-ranking PFDJ officials attending the event, and we don't know who is attending the one taking place in the UK. Although it's expected that some of the most high-ranking officials would attend. So, what can democratic countries do to prevent the PFDJ from exploiting its their rights and the freedoms there are to allow law-abiding citizens to have events and do what free people do, because the PFDJ regime is abusing their systems, right?
Oh, absolutely. I entirely agree with that. I think it's perhaps fair to say, in terms of the planned event in London this weekend, the 15th and 16th of July, the venue at the event scheduled at Harrow Leisure Centre has been cancelled.
Yeah.
And the police have informed members of the diaspora already that the event there will not take place. As I said earlier, PFDJ are still selling tickets for the event. We don't know where it's going to take place, but we will work damn hard, I tell you, to make it cancel. And we have sufficient information. Once we know where the venue is going to be held, we can, I tell you, guarantee we will have it cancelled. Yeah. In terms who attends, well, if the event doesn't take place, it doesn't really matter who comes. But it is, I think, fair to say almost every festival in the West organized by Eritreans have been attended by officials, high-ranking officials. The only person, to my knowledge, who has not attended Eritrean festival abroad is Isaias. I have not seen him. He must, I don't know, but he hasn't. Let's put it that way. Let's leave it there.
Because everyone would know who he is, and like the high-ranking officials who attended the Gießen event were, I think, the Zoba administrators, Zoba being the administration. Yeah, so
Administration region.
so
Yeah.
mhm, mhm. And then you have those who are renting out the venues. Do you have a message for them?
Yes, and in fact, the dossier we pulled together last year on the summer festivals, where we titled it "The Summer PFDJ Died," and as I say, it's on the website and goes into a lot of pages, documents the purpose of PFDJ events, PFDJ festival, and we have shared that document extensively. We even share it with Ministry of Defense, because if you look at the document, you can see Eritrean paramilitary brandishing guns. To me, they look guns in some of the festivals in front of children. You know, you can see some of them wearing Eritrean army uniforms. Yeah, and it is quite scary. No, this isn't a festival. You know, you go there, if you see as a kid or even an adult somebody brandishing a gun, well, how can you call that a festival? So we have reported it to the Ministry of Defense. We have reported it to the Home Office in the UK. We have reported to the Metropolitan Office, and they have the full documentation. We have even gone as far as the Welsh government, reported the Welsh government, the Scottish government, the European Union, and it's gone really as far as we can, including the State Department. Yeah, it is our job, really, if we're going to protect our people from these mad people who are busy day and night, that we make the international community aware of it. And this is what we are doing, and we will continue doing.
Okay, Mr. Habte, and what message do you have for those Eritreans who are going to attend the event itself and those protesting or who are going to protest as there are protests planned for tomorrow, I think? What would you like to say to them?
For those attending the festival, I plead with them to think and reflect the state our country is. For those attending the festivals, I want to ask them to think and reflect the state our country is. One of the poorest countries in the world, and yet rich in natural resources, but abused and vandalized by an unelected regime. Why would he dance for this government? Why? They need to think, really think hard why actually they attend this event. To me, it's madness. Why would attend an event to praise somebody who is killing my sister, raping my mother, or getting people to flee my homeland? So why would he dance for that regime? So I would pose that question to those people who plan to attend the event. And for those opposite, I say, well done to you. You're doing fantastic. Our country needs you. You are our future. The youth are our future. The old guards are finished. Give them 5 years, 10 years, they will all dead. You are our future, and continue in the way you do. The only thing I would advise, and I think I say this with a heavy heart because it's not easy, is to try to make it peaceful. Because it's not Eritrea. You abuse people, you kick people, you shoot people in Eritrea, you go scot-free. You can't do it here. And the moment you are seen to be violent, you lose the argument. Yeah, and we're already winning the argument. We're getting our message across. So I beg those who attend these events as members of the opposition to be peaceful. We need maybe mention here the wise word the former First Lady. Sorry, just my concluding remark. The former First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama, said, When they go low, we go high. PFDJ are scams. The scams, that's why they are busier people. And we don't need to follow them. We don't need them. We need to be peaceful. And that will be my message.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Habte. It was nice talking to you, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you, my
Thank
pleasure.
you.
All the best.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.